Okay, amazing. Welcome to the third week of How Happiness Thinks. This is actually one of my favorite lessons so far. I'm really excited about it. Um, so the first week, I want to summarize what we've really covered so far. The first week, we spoke about happiness as it pertains to things outside of you, and being grateful for the things that we have. The second week was really all about having um, being grateful, sorry, having happiness within our own selves, meaning to say that recognizing the importance of our own self-worth and notwithstanding anything that happens like outside of us. And then also the importance of humility as it relates to happiness. Um, and it's just the general idea of an importance of having a purpose and mission in life and meaning to life as it pertains to happiness. And the purpose of this lesson is, okay, we know that we have a meaning and purpose to life, but the question is how do we figure out what that purpose is? So this is where it gets really fun. Um, and that's the goal of this lesson is to really say, hey, now that we know now that we know that we need to have a purpose, what is that? So the way to figure that out is to really discover more about ourselves. And it sounds a little paradoxical because we have, on one hand, we spoke at the end of the last lesson, the importance of humility, while on the other hand, um, that's important. But on the other hand, now we're going to be kind of taking a deep dive within ourselves to really understand more about ourselves, but not for the sake of of a sense of arrogance or anything, but really we need to understand where our own personal strengths and weaknesses in order so that way we can come to a greater fulfillment of our purpose and of our mission. So I guess that is really, in a nutshell, what it is about. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, let's share the screen. One second. Share screen. Okay, screen is now shared. Everyone can see my screen? See the PowerPoint? Yeah? Thumbs up? Okay, good. Everyone can see? Okay, amazing. Um, okay. When I play the slideshow, I can't see any people, which makes it a little more challenging to be able to call on people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to only use the slideshow for when we need to. There's certain slides that we need to actually play the show, but for the rest, I'll just have it go like this. There we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna make this bigger. Okay, there we are. Okay, great. In the chat, I posted a link to this Professor Seligman. He has these happiness related personality tests that are really fun to do. And I encourage everyone to try it. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to do it, but I hope to do it after the lesson. So after the lesson, please feel free to copy that link in the chat
I don't
and
see it in the chat, Jacob.
in the chat.
Yeah.
Mm, I posted it to everyone. Maybe I only posted to the people that showed up. Maybe I posted it too early. Let me message everyone again. And
No,
oh,
there.
and there we are. Okay. Okie doke. Okay. So the first lesson is, sorry, this lesson is called Job Opening You. What am I here for? So, so basically, first of all, I want to get people's feedback on the last lesson. Was there any strong takeaways anyone got specifically from the last lesson, specifically, or any other questions specific to the last lesson as it relates to self worth, self esteem, and humility, and all of those topics? or maybe any of the additional readings anyone got a chance to do and has anything they want to share inspiring from that. Um, Not everyone at once. No, not not everyone has to jump out and oh, Daniel's on. Yay! Welcome, Daniel. Feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like. You don't have to, but
Not sure you want to give me that opportunity right now.
You're great. You're great. Okay. I apologize. Yeah. See, the thing is, if I go like this, then I can't. Okay. So, anyways, so yeah, so exercise 2.3 from page 65 from the last session, we basically I don't know if this is homework or something that we're doing on our own at the end, was really just an idea to really reinforce the idea of we have a self-concept, help to have a healthy self-concept, to recognize that we want to work on growing in that regard, um, and to work on those challenges. So hopefully we all got a chance to try our best and work on those things. I think it definitely helped me a lot, throughout this week. You know, yeah, I'll give some examples maybe later. It's been quite a crazy week. A lot of traveling and a lot of exciting journeys that maybe I'll share throughout the lesson. Okay, so for this lesson, we are gonna start on text one, page 85. Maybe Diane is the first profile I see. Why don't you read this text on page 85? This is so just to kind of introduce the this text. This is a very famous analogy that a parable that the previous Chabad Rebbe brought about the idea of why it's so important to utilize your own strengths to fulfill your purpose um as opposed to not utilizing your strengths. And or if you're acting on or focusing on your weaknesses or on the wrong things, then it could be the opposite, have the opposite effect. So why don't you read text one? Dan, you gotta unmute yourself. There you go. Oh, still got it. Oh, there you go. There you are. Now we hear you.
So it's to page 85 and 86, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Lost Souls. A wealthy
Mhm.
businessman and his coachman arrived in his city one Friday afternoon. The rich man was settled at the best hotel in town, and the coachman went off to his humble lodgings. Both washed and dressed for Shabbos, and then set out for the synagogue for the evening prayers. On his way to shul, the businessman came across a large wagon that had swerved off the road and was stuck in a ditch. Rushing to help a fellow in need, the businessman climbed down into the ditch and began pushing and pulling at the wagon together with its hapless driver. But for all his finesse in handling the most challenging of business deals, when it came to extracting a wagon and a team of horses from a muddy ditch, our businessman was hopelessly out of his depth. After struggling for an hour in the knee-deep mud, he succeeded only in ruining his best suit of Shabbos clothing, amassing a most impressive collection of cuts and bruises, and getting the wagon even more impossibly embedded in the mud. Finally, he dragged his limping body to the synagogue, arriving a scant minute before the start of Shabbos. Meanwhile, the coachman arrived early to the synagogue and sat down to recite a few chapters of Psalms. At the synagogue, he found a group of wandering paupers, and being blessed with the most generous nature, the coachman invited them all to share Shabbos meal. When the synagogue sexton approached the poor and homeless to arrange meal placements for them with the town householders, as is customary in Jewish communities, he received the same reply from them all. Thank you, but I have already been invited for the Shabbos meal. Unfortunately, however, the coachman's budget was hardly equal to his generous heart. It would be most difficult to believe that his dozen guests left his table with more than a shadow of meal in their hungry stomachs. Thus, the coachman, with his 20 years of experience in pulling wagons out of mud holes, took it upon himself to feed a small army, while the wealthy businessman, whose Shabbos meal leftovers could easily have fed every hungry man within a 10-mile radius, floundered about in a ditch. Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak of Lubavitch told the story and explains its lesson. Every soul is entrusted with a mission unique to her alone and is granted the specific aptitudes, talents, and resources necessary to excel in her ordained role. One must take care not to become one of those lost souls who wander haplessly through life, trying to hand their hand at every field of endeavor except for what is truly and inherently their own. I
Well
have a
said.
I have a
Yeah,
comment to add
please,
to that.
please.
The part that I also took from that story when I've
Hmm.
read it and heard it in the past
Hmm.
is the businessman may not have known anything about pulling out a wagon, but he
Hmm.
sure knew how to go help someone, and I think he should be commended,
Yeah, no,
both of them, for helping each other, for
yeah,
helping
so
others.
yeah, it is yeah, it's a funny story because they still it's not they weren't didn't they're not bad people. They are good people. I guess that's the kind of the point of this story is that they both wanted to help, and it's not like they necessarily did the wrong thing inherently, meaning if you're in a situation to help someone get a wagon out of the mud, even if you have no experience, you're going to do whatever you can to help them out of the mud. And that deserves some credit. And same with the wagon driver to help help the host all those people, right? But the whole idea is theoretically the wagon driver could have said, "Oh, there's all these guests. I know um, my boss, the businessman, actually has a lot of resources to be able to help you guys. Let me go get him, and he can probably host you." And same with in the reverse situation, the businessman, when he saw the wagon, he could have said, "Hey, actually, I have a wagon driver. He's in the show right now, but I can go run and call him and hire him to pull the wagon out on my behalf. He can be my shliach. He can be my emissary to help pull the wagon out." And so a lot of it is that just the idea of utilizing your strengths and recognizing when you have certain weaknesses that be able to say, "Hey, I'm going to, outsource that and utilize my strengths to be able to help the most amount of people accomplish the most, et cetera, et cetera." So so at this point in the class, we're taking for granted that we all now believe that everyone has unique purpose and mission in life and in this world. I had a disagreement with one of the attendees in the live class on Monday, that we're still debating this topic, but taking that for granted, assuming we're all taking that for granted, the a lot of people think that, okay, what is my mission and purpose in life in this world? It's very we try to make it more complicated than it has to be. And there's actually that maybe some of the psychologists in the room in the Zoom can maybe tap comment if you'd like. There's a concept in psychology called complexity bias, and this slide is kind of just a funny graphic just to explain complexity bias. Basically, the idea, to my knowledge, and the panel of psychologists, please um, correct me if I'm wrong, is that basically in life we try to overcome our human nature is to try to overcomplicate things. So a lot of times we think, oh, my life, my purpose in life, and then we get all worked up and try to think it's something extremely, extremely complicated, but it's really not as complicated as as we might think. And the Torah and through mentors, etc., there are ways to help determine what that mission is in a relatively simple way. It's obviously still requires work, and it doesn't just it doesn't just come completely natural, but it's just like this diagram. It's like we don't have to like go get lost in a maze. We can just gotta work hard and pursue it. Okay. Now the next slide, I think in order for it to show properly, we have to play it. So let me try. Oopa.
Rabbi Yaakov, just
Yeah.
curious, how would you articulate like the one mission that we all have in common that therefore then our different roles or skills and talents are fulfillment of?
What is the one mission?
Yeah, like just how would you express that? Like, okay, I'm in agreement. I
No,
just,
it's not. No, it's not one mission. We all have different. We all have different missions in the world. We don't know. Maybe our mission was to be a wagon driver. Maybe our mission is to help as many people get from point A to point B in a wagon. Maybe another person's mission is to,
yeah,
you know, be help people in therapy sessions. Um, etc. Obviously, there's the one uniting theme, in Judaism is that we all have certain mitzvah obligations that we do, and that is one like thread that unites us all. But it was still because we're all so unique, we all have different personalities and different character traits and different attributes that will, go
for
later in the
sure.
class that we each have that they're all unique and separate. So Daniel, why not, without further ado, why don't you read text 2 on page 88? This is an amazing, amazing
I'm
text.
gonna pass on the reading because I don't
Oh,
have
because
it.
you lost, so you can't find the book. Okay, that's
Right.
okay. That's okay. I'll forgive you. I'll forgive you.
I'm gonna find it.
Does
I'm on.
anybody want to volunteer? Let me pick a volunteer.
I
This is a
can do
little.
it, Rabbi. It's
Oh,
page
Sigma.
88.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Thank you.
The
Oh, good. I'm
story
so
of
happy
our
you're here.
the
Sorry.
story of our lives, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
The Story of Our Lives is a book that requires study. This book ought to be the compass for how we go about life. The story of our lives consists of the reason we were created,
Hmm.
number 2, to whom we were born, number 3, the place of our birth, number 4, the time period of our birth. Number 5, the type of education and guidance we received. Number 6, the environment in which we grew up. Number 7, our talents. Number 8, our inborn emotional disposition.
Hmm.
Number 9, our characteristics and inclinations. Number 10, how divine providence guided us until the day we became independent and assumed a position in life. These 10 factors form the narratives of our individual lives and become a book that requires study. These factors are supposed to guide which pathways we choose, how we behave, whether interpersonal relationships or our relationship with God.
Beautiful. Well read. This just so you have the background, this is a letter that was written by the previous Chabad Rebbe in 1913 to a Jew, a Chassid that was in his mid 30s. His name was Elliot Zvi Einbinder, and he was born in a small Russian village, and he had later moved to New Haven, Connecticut. So, and had written to his Rebbe, "Hey, I'm, in my mid 30s. I'm at this turning point in my life. I have to figure out what I'm meant to do, moving here forward." And he writes this beautiful letter how really there's 10 chapters, so to speak, um, to our life, and when we really think and contemplate about each of these sections of our life and recognize that each of these should be taken into account and to help determining how we should consider and determine what our life mission and purpose is. So the first one, reason we created, parents. So, parents is an interesting one because, I was speaking to someone in the live class that may have had relatively, not the best parents as role models. So I was kind of joking in a certain sense, like sometimes it's like to learn what to do, and sometimes it's learn what not to do. But regardless, the parental influence really does shape how we help determine what we do. A lot of times, obviously the reason why so many people they follow the footsteps, of their parents in the profession or the business, they go into family business, whatever it may be, or you can utilize the strengths that your parents have in helping determine different things. There's so many things to talk about for with aggressive parents. Place of birth, that's an interesting one because, for example, this Jew, he was born in a small town in Russia. So, like, let's say for his example, we could all think in our own lives where we were born. But for him, maybe the fact that he was born in a small little shtetl in White Russia, that could have some impact on how he should live his life and pursue. Maybe he could teach Russian, maybe because he knows the culture of Russian Jewry, he can help the Jews that have moved to America or something along those lines. So that is one idea. Time period of birth. Um, the idea behind that is that we, um, for example, like he was born in 19 in like the late 1800s probably. So the time period, the era in history that he was in is a very different era that we are in today, for example. So every generation has unique challenges and opportunities. So, for example, in our generation, we have, the challenges and blessings of internet, social media. So we have an opportunity to maybe utilize those resources or help people that are struggling with those resources. Also, the call of the hour is very different. For example, the way, so there's just so much that should be taken into account the actual era and decade, so to speak, that we were born in. Education, um, should utilize our education. In this story, this Jew, he was educated in a Hasidic yeshiva, and so obviously, that'd be very different from someone that had a more secular public school upbringing education. So he could maybe utilize that um, to some degree, and the environment in which he grew up in. So it's not just this is the environment which you grew up is more like the fact that he now lives in New Haven, Connecticut. So that obviously is going to play a big role in how he decides these things. Talents, obviously has to recognize what his skills are, what his talents are. And for example, the best example of this is like the women in the tabernacle in the Mishkan, they would weave the fabrics used for the tabernacle, and they had this very unique skill. So that's what they were able to do in order to serve God. It was very as unique talents. They were able to utilize that. Emotional disposition. So that is obviously a big topic, but we're going to get into that more in detail later in the course, in the lesson. And character and inclinations. So these are the 10. And I think the biggest thing as as I taught the class on Monday and has been contemplating these topics more, I think it's very important to recognize that, all of these things should be reflected upon with oneself, but then also after really doing some internal soul searching to also discuss it with a mashpia or a mentor, because in order to have that not too much biases and because there's so many help factors that will lead to this, and sometimes having someone else that's not you can be very helpful, like a spouse or a mentor, or both. So why don't we just take a few minutes? I don't want to take too long, but because we don't have a ton of time, but it would be really great on page 90. There's this exercise where I actually started working on it myself. I don't know if you can see my screen or not, but but uh, but we have exercise 3.1. I got like halfway done in the first one. About you should try to just list a few of the factors that play a role in your personal mission and as you currently conceive it. And I know this is a little bit of a challenging exercise, but I really hope that I'll at least be able to put in a few minutes in filling out this because then it will be able to really help us really think about what are the things that help us lead up to become the person that we are today, and then use that as fuel to help us really discover what we can accomplish, with the rest of our lives. Because we all have plenty of life to live. So,
I think, Rabbi, one of the things in looking at the background and
yeah.
personality, it sounds as though what they're trying to say is that the background that you have in terms of, sorry, my
Mhm.
vision isn't the best, so
That's
I'm
okay.
taking off
That's
my
okay.
glasses here.
That's okay.
Between the environment and the parents
Hmm.
kind of help shape in a way your personality.
Mm.
Um, Even though personality can be also what you were born with, and a lot
Hmm.
of it can be instinctual, but at the same time, it's that nature versus nurture. But still, it's that environment that you in with your place of birth, what you've been exposed to in your childhood, relationship with your parents, how we were created, education. Some of that definitely impacts some of the personality.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Very, yeah. Well
What
said. It's
can you
definitely
just
true.
summarize, guys, or you take for Yaakov, like what is it implied by we were created? Like what's that factor to contemplate? We were created.
Um, the fact that we were created, what are you referring to specifically?
Oh, like that's a factor. It's like I'll contemplate my parents. Like I want to
Oh,
be
you know
like
what?
them. I don't want to be like them. I want to carry on what they did.
You
My
know, it's actually
environment.
funny. We actually kind of, when I went into detail to explain them, I kind of skipped the first one because the first one's the hardest to really, to really discuss the reason we were created. Um,
Is it
that is a
like a personal
very
tikkun? Like a personal tikkun?
that
Like
is something that that we're gonna have to really think about more. That's a very complicated one because the answer is that one was a little hard, so that's why I kind of just intentionally
okay,
tried to
fine,
skip
fine. I'm sorry.
it. No, it's a very good no, it's a very good point. It is one of the 10. It's the first of the 10 actually. So
I was
Okay, we could
thinking,
we could have a bump out later about
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Who was gonna
me, Donna,
yeah, hi
Donna.
Donna. Hi Donna. Oh,
I
by the way, wait, before not everybody knows you, so maybe you can just quickly introduce yourself. I feel Donna is
uh,
new to the Zoom.
I'm Donna. I live in Payson. I've lived here for 30 years.
Yeah, and Donna is a regular attendee of our in-person class, but um, was not able to make it this week, so she's attending on Zoom. So we're so happy to have you. And Donna is also a retired PhD psychology, um, who had your own practice for many years, but now you're retired. So we're not quizzing you. We're not gonna put you on the spot, but you're still allowed to comment. Please share
Well,
any.
I was just wondering on this number one, why we were
Yeah.
created, if it had anything to do maybe with why our parents chose to create us.
Yeah, no, that's actually I was actually thinking about mentioning that as that's what I was thinking about saying actually, and I was afraid to say it. But because
I
it's
said it
one
for
of those
you.
things that like we don't really,
This
you
is
know,
mother's on the call.
yeah, my mother's on the call, first of all. Uh and it's kind of an awkward thing to ask your parents, especially if God forbid, you don't want to be the last thing you want to hear, I'm sure, from all the psychologists in the room, like the worst thing that parents could ever say to a child is like, "Oh, you're like by accident or something." God forbid.
Oh, that's
Um,
I was told that actually.
you were told that?
But
Oh,
I didn't think it was so bad.
you didn't think? Oh,
Because it's still life,
yeah,
So
it's still
Donna,
the
I'm
opportunity
curious.
for life. Yeah.
yeah.
When
Oh,
you
wait.
when you guys say like we were created, like the purpose, like our parents created, it's like, could you just tell me an example or make up an example of like what would that mean to you? Like what? Okay, so the parent wanted to have a baby to, I don't know. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it a little bit.
Are you asking me?
Well, I mean, if
Yeah,
Yaakov, that's
you're
okay,
asking
yeah, I
me.
just figured I'd ask Donna because
Yeah, yeah,
Ask
Donna,
Dr.
feel
Donna.
that.
Well, I don't know. I didn't delve into it, but I was thinking, my parents maybe they did want to pass on their genetics. Maybe they did want to live longer through a child, or
Mhm.
something like that. But I didn't really
oh, that is
examine it.
helpful. Like I have 6 kids. Like I want them, and I am a Baal Tshuva, meaning I became religious, and I would like them to carry that torch forwards and help my family continue to be Torah observant. So that would be on them, so to speak. And they don't have to do that, but I'd appreciate if they did. But anyways, that's not for me.
I was wondering whether, I mean, if you said the reason we were created, is that supposed to be the reason God
Well,
created
yeah,
us?
that could also be like more of a theological. Yeah, that's a very good point. It could be we could that point could be more of a theological point, like more of the theological reason why we're created, which is like a deeper, deeper topic. And that is, I think, the reason why we're not going to delve too much into that point in this lesson, because that could literally be an entire class. Not in, it could be an entire lesson on its own, and it could also probably be an entire six-part series on its own if we wanted to. So I think that's why we're not going to delve too much into that one. But yeah. So why don't, yeah,
Rabbi, Rabbi,
yeah,
sorry, I'm reading
go for it.
this story about him. Rabbi, the I understand it's a theological reason, but that's also why we're taking this course to
Oh,
figure
you're
out
right.
why God made us.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You got me. You got me. You're right. This is a Jewish course, and this is from the Torah perspective. That's what we want. That's what we want to hear. Here,
That's why
it's a very good topic. How about this? At the
I
end of
say
the
one thing,
hour, anyone who
Yaakov.
wants to stay on, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that topic.
Can I
But
make a comment and then I'll
yeah,
let it go?
yeah, please.
Because I was thinking earlier when I said like, oh, maybe like we have, I mean, I misread it, but still my thought was, okay, we all do have like one super macro purpose, which is to serve
Yeah.
God, like to be his, like you made like put on that beautiful slide, said we have a job opening you, like we all are, who's employing us all?
Yeah.
Like we have a creator who has mission for us, like that's something in common. We each, he has
Mhm.
jobs for all of us, like, you know, I'm thinking along those lines, like we are created for a mission itself, like that's part of the whole idea, not
Yeah. So
necessarily sit around and learn more origami, you know what I'm
yeah, I think it's like the first of the 10 is the actual mission. And the next nine are the signposts, so to speak, that help us guide us to determining what that mission is. I think that might be a better way to read it. Um, so like really the answers to the last nine should 2 through 10, so to speak, should help us formulate what is number one. I think that might be another way to kind of read it, even though, yeah, that's the way I would read it. I think let's do this because we're gonna, if we actually spend time doing this in class, we're gonna in the lesson, we're gonna definitely run out of time. So why don't everyone put a doggy ear on, unless you don't like doing that, you can put a post-it note in page 90, exercise 3.1, or circle it. And I highly, highly, highly recommend throughout the course of the week to really try to go through it, and really write down. First, you have to write down the actual things, like who are your parents and what fact. I mean, but then write down the actual factors that may have played a role into who you are today, and that may help in shaping the what to determine and how to lead your life in the future. So I think that'll be really, really. It's very all these things is never a wasted time. I was always told, anytime you're thinking more about who you are and what your mission is and what your purpose is definitely never wasted time because you're always coming more true to yourself. So next, okay. So um, okay, now we're gonna talk about the spheres. This is actually really fun. Um, so one of the 10 was personality. So according to the Torah, there are, according to Kabbalistic teachings, we have 10 traits, 10 soul powers. Actually, the next slide does a better job. We have 10 attributes. Three of them are intellectual, and seven of them are emotional. And basically, what we're gonna there's a really great video that I'm gonna show you guys that really kind of just explains it extremely well, way better than I could possibly explain. But just to summarize it, that these 10 attributes just like the whole idea is that we are created in the image of God. So just like God has these 10 attributes, so too we have these 10 attributes. And the idea is that, you know, one person could be a mom, they could be a wife, they could be a leader in their community, they could be, an employee for a company, they could be an employer, they could, have all these different roles in life. Um, and that's like almost like like an analogy for the different attributes, but that doesn't change who their essence is. So too, every soul has the essence of their soul, and then their 10 attributes is how that soul is expressed. And it can be expressed in different ways. And what we're going to find is that the more we can really figure out what are our 10 attributes and really think about them and think about which of our attributes are stronger and which of our attributes are weaker, then we can actually come to a better understanding of ourselves and how to apply our personality in our personal mission and etc. So okay, now I'm going to play this really great video that really does an incredible job explaining it. Okay. Tell me if you can't hear anything. There we go. I think this should be it. There we go.
What does a painting, a piano, and the primordial pegs of creation have in common? The human eye can detect about 10 million colors, but what we are actually looking at is a tiny group of primary colors that combine in millions of variations of ratios that drench the universe in delightful and awesome visual coloring. A similar principle works for music. Innumerable melodies exist, which can be played on countless forms of instrument. But the wonder we are hearing can be stripped down to just a petite handful of primary musical notes. That's how God created the universe, with just a basic handful of spiritual elements that combine in myriads of ratios to form the splendid symphony of creation. God first created the mystical Sephirot, 10 divine channels through which is infinite light to be condensed, contracted, and then released as individual attributes that could eventually give rise to a diversity of finite creations. Let us make man in our own image, said God. No sooner said than done. Man was created in his Creator's image with his own internal set of 10 attributes through which he operates. These 10 spiritual attributes are reflected in the physical human anatomy. Let's go through them one by one. Sephira 1. Chokhmah. Chokhmah is the initial seed of an idea, the flash of undeveloped inspiration. It enables us to be creative, spiritual, transcendent. Sephira 2. Bina. Bina is the development of ideas. It enables us to be logical, analytical, organized. Sephira 3. Dot. Dot allows us to focus on an idea so that it becomes relevant and personally meaningful. It enables us to be attentive, principled, involved. Sephira 4. Chesed is the power to love, share, and look kindly upon others. It enables us to be generous, optimistic, sociable. Sephira 5. Gavrura is the power of discipline and restraint. It enables us to be calculated, cautious, serious. Sephira 6. Tiferet is the power to empathize and harmonize kindness with strictness based on the needs of others. It enables us to be balanced, empathetic, harmonious. Sephira 7, Netzach, is the power of determination to overcome challenge. It enables us to be persistent, forceful, daring. Sephira 8, Hod, is the power of humility, gratitude, and submitting to a higher cause. It enables us to be thankful, devoted, accommodating. Sephira 9, Yesod, is the power to focus on others and to build genuine relationships. It enables us to be selfless, altruistic, loyal. And last, but not at all least, Sephira 10, Malchut. Malchut has multiple functions. It is the power of speech and action, effective communication and leadership, and to be receptive to others. It enables us to be leading, communicating, achieving. So there you have it, the 10 components of the human self, the internal mechanism upon which all intellect, emotion, and actions run. God used tens of Sephirot to create his universe, and we use our 10 Sephirot to shape our miniature universes.
Okay. Yeah, Jayla does this incredible video. Oops. Wow. Um, that was really great. Okay, does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns about that video?
I just want to say that's amazing. Like how much
Yeah.
in like 2 minutes. That's unbelievable.
I know. Isn't that a great video? I know. I knew you'd like it. I knew you'd like it. Of all the people for sure. I knew Daniel. So, okay, so we have some really incredible exercises from page 94 through 99. Um, and it's really fun. It's kind of almost like or sorry, 94, oh sorry, all the way through 103. Basically, in which you can go through really each of the 10 sphirot and kind of rank with regards to all the personality traits that are associated with that sphira and really kind of at least get a general idea of which which Saphira are ones that are stronger within me, and which ones might be a little less pronounced within me. And it's not, and so just to preface, it's not one of those things that like it's stuck in stone forever. It's brought down that that we are able to, at least in theory, with really hard work, change our inborn intellectual and emotional traits, which are the Sphirot, but it takes a lot of hard work. So that's why it's so good to know what is our natural inclination, what are our natural strengths in within these 10 Sphirot. So while I'm talking and going through each of the 10, you could go ahead and just give yourself a quick rank, like exercise 3.2a, creative, intuitive, original, spiritual. You could just like on a scale of one being very weak, five being very dominant, which of these traits are that? So instead of like devoting special time um each thing to fill out, I'm just gonna start talking, just run through this 10 one more time, and then you could, while I'm talking, you could fill out the each of the things.
I
Okay.
have a
So
question.
yeah, please.
Um, could you give me the translation of the word? Like it says
Yeah.
here, chachma is
Yeah.
wisdom.
Chachma is wisdom. Exactly. Very good.
And for each of them, because it doesn't show
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
video.
I will. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so Chachma is wisdom. So Chachma, so the reason why it's called Chachma, it sounds like I'm choking on a chicken bone or something. But but really it comes from the word koach ma, which means the power of what? The best analogy I like to use for Chachma is, like in those cartoons when like someone has an idea and there's like a light bulb that like shows up on their head and it just like turns on like that initial flash of inspiration of an idea, that is chachma. So maybe like especially like the artists, the creatives, you kind of need that, or like people, the big thinkers, the idea people, those people would have be very strong in their attribute of chachma, intuitive knowledge. Okay, bina is understanding. So Bina is the idea of taking, here's his logical breakdown of creative ideas. So basically you're taking that spark of that idea, so to speak, that spark of inspiration, that light bulb flash, and saying it's not to let it fly away. Because, some people have like a million ideas that are amazing at having great ideas, but they're not so great at like taking these ideas and kind of chewing it over and saying, okay, how would that idea actually work practically, and like kind of like thinking that through, right? So that is another intellectual ability that is separate from Chachma. It's two different parts of the brain, so to speak. Okay, dot or das, depending on if how you pronounce it. That is it could be connection, but essentially what it is if you notice the dot on the chart and when you correspond to the human body, it's almost like corresponds to the neck because the brain is the intellectual capabilities and the torso is the emotional represents the emotions more so. So dot is that connecting piece, so to speak, between the intellect and emotion. So essentially what it is we're drawing down our intellect, taking whatever intellectual idea and um, the fleshing out of that idea that we did through Bina, and to find a way to internalize it emotionally, which another way of saying that would be to make it relevant. Okay, so that was okay. So I don't know if you noticed, but the words Chachma, Bina, and Dot that actually spells the word Chabad, and that's where the Chabad acronym means. It's an acronym for the first three intellectual capabilities of the soul. Okay, now we're going to the emotions. Chesed, kindness, or also translated as loving kindness. It's the idea of being able to give and give and give. So one thing that's interesting about chesed is chesed could be good or chesed could be bad, right? Because you want to be a very giving person, but you can be so giving. What if you give someone something but they don't want it, right? That would be like chesed in the unholy realm. So so a chesed personality just wants to give, is so generous, or maybe someone could be so chesed that they give, 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 and they have nothing left of their own. They give, like they gave away all of their money and possession, like the famous, whatever. Tell that story of me when my mother would probably wants to tell that story of me when I was a kid, and gave my friends all of my all of my money because I didn't know what it was, so I just gave it all, there,
He took his he took his allowance and decided he didn't need it, and his friends were walking out the door with money coming out of their pockets.
Yeah, that was a fun. Yeah, that would be like the best analogy of like too much chesed, a little too much. So that has to be restrained with gevura. Seeing others in a positive light. Gevura means discipline. So calculated, grounded, realistic. So gevura could be in the positive and the negative, just like chesed. So the positive elements of gevura will be being able to, yeah, like be very calculated like an engineer or mathematician, or very organized, very studious, whatever. But too much kavura, you could be too restrained. You could be, not you kind of be like a hermit and just not want to, be a miser. So that's not good either. So if we don't want too much chesed or too much kfir, so what do we need? We need tiferes. Tiferes is the name of my wife, so it's my favorite attribute. And um, tiferes oftentimes is translated as compassion. Um, But I like this image here of the palette, of this artistic palette, because it's the idea of essentially chesed. Imagine chesed is just one color, gevura is a different color, but something's not truly beautiful unless you have a blend of both, a harmonious blend of the be able to combine chesed and gevura, those two opposite energies, loving kindness and restraint, with together, to have the right balance of the two. So, like the classic analogy would be, like I don't know, like the poor man, like the chesed person would just give, 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 even though that might not be healthy because maybe he, the way you're giving him is not what he needs, or you're giving him too much and he doesn't know how to spend the money, let's say, or whatever. Gevura will be like, I'm not gonna, or Gevura will be, gonna, do a whole test to make sure you really deserve it. And if you don't deserve it, I'm not giving you anything, etc. Tiferes is saying, hey, I'm still gonna kind of get a general idea if you deserve it or not. But even if you don't deserve it, I'm still gonna give something, to show, to kind of show that I have both chesed and gvura in a balanced way. So it's kind of like the idea of like the ability to balance the two opposite energies. And that's why in the diagram back on what page was that? Page 93, that kind of like lists all the 10 spherot in kind of like a diagram in a two-dimensional like layout. You see like Chachma is on the right, Bina is on the left, Dot is in the center, Chesed is on the right, Kfur is on the left, Tiferet is in the center. So the whole idea is like the center attributes are kind of balanced, like kind of balancing the two, so to speak. Okay, Netzach. Next one, Netzach. Oop, that slide didn't work out. Netzach, determination. This is a fun one. It's like, people that like running marathons maybe, or people that like winning competitions, people that are very determined to win and succeed till the end. People want to run for political office. People that, for these people, if they have adversity in their life, normally for a lot of people, adversity is a very challenging thing that could hinder a person's, seemingly hinder their service of God. But, someone that has a very strong attribute of Netzach, adversity is a very, very positive thing for them because then they're able to overcome that adversity and they're able to reach an even higher level. Hod, the next one, I really love Hod because Hod is kind of almost to a certain extent really much connected to what we learned in the first lesson of this course, which is the idea of submission and submitting to higher cause. Such an important attribute um, because, yeah, it relates to humility, patience, gracefulness, and gratitude. Kind of all those topics that really, have a very direct relationship to happiness. So this is a very, very powerful attribute to have. Um, this course has jokes, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say jokes. So, if you guys want jokes, I'll tell them. If not, I'll skip them. Okay, Yesod. Selflessness. So I would translate Yesod. Yesod literally, the word Yesod literally means foundation. It means a foundation, but often it's associated with the idea of connection. So it actually corresponds to the bottom of the torso where it's associated with the idea of connection to others. Um, and to have formed genuine relationships. And then the last one is probably the most important of all is Malchut. Malchut, the word Malchut literally means kingship, but it is but what is a true king? A king is someone that is able to express themselves, articulate themselves well, and also be that the people will receive the people will be receptive to what the king decrees. It's not like the idea of Malchut is not like a dictatorship. It's the idea of receptivity. So Malchut is like the most feminine of all of the attributes because the idea of the receptivity, expression, leadership, ability to lead, like a king leads, and it's associated with conveying ideas to others. For example, it's actually where it's the transition point between one's intellect and emotions, between one's emotions and one's thought, speech, and action. How we actually practically implement all of our emotions. So that would be Malchut. There's definitely so much to talk about Malchut. It's probably one of the most exciting ones because Malchut is the is actually what is able to create. That's God's attribute to be able to create existence. But it's our within ourselves, it's our attribute to be able to express ideas to others and to create in the sense of um, articulating an idea or doing or building something physically with one's hands. That would be like an expression of malchut. So that is kind of where the rubber meets the road in terms of these 10. So, so those are the 10. We have to make it personal. And obviously everyone has to learn Torah, right? And do mitzvahs, and everyone has their religious obligations we have to do. But the things within that we have, there's so much variance in how we can express that. So we each do that in our own ways, through our own unique personalities. And so,
I got a question.
yeah, sorry, yeah, please. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, so I can
so
see
I
you.
see in the chat the video left out Keter, the crown.
Ah, Seamus, bruh, Dr. Seamus. Yes, I was
And
waiting for someone
so
to ask that.
that makes it 11.
Yes. Okay. So, very good. So the video left with Keter, and I'm happy someone asked that question. Keter basically um, is not officially one of the 10 because um, Malchut, it is really the same as the lowest. Basically, the source of Malchut, the lowest, which is kingship expression, is really connected straight to Keter. Keter means crown. And it's associated with the idea with will, which is really actually beyond our actual faculties because it's a soul power. It's not a unique soul power in the sense that it's an expression of the soul because it's almost more deeply rooted within the actual essence of the soul. Um, it's a person's like inner will and desire. So, so, which is interesting because Keter means crown, Malchut means king. So the highest of the attributes and the lowest attributes are really, in a certain sense, they're really one and the same. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we don't really count it as a separate one. For example, in the context of Hasidic teachings and the different worlds, etc., the Malchut, which is the lowest attribute in a given paradigm, the is also the highest attribute of the lower world as well. So that's kind of in a nutshell why we didn't explain it, but that's a really good question. Thank you for bringing that up, Dr. Seamus. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Um, okay,
Rabbi
so
Kahneman, I also
yeah,
just wanted to say a little bit in terms of can
yeah,
personality change? Like I know we
yes.
talked a lot about the backgrounds and parents, but
Mhm.
sometimes just life experiences happen and our personalities can change based on each one of those experiences, not just what happens in our with our parents and our education.
Yes. Yes, that's a very good point. Personalities can change. So I'll tell you the Torah perspective, and please give me any clinical perspective. I'd love to hear. But from the Torah perspective, there traditionally the emotional attributes, the intellectual attributes and emotional attributes are very lofty, and so they're very hard to change, but it's still theoretically possible to change them. But what is more possible and more practical is is to um, to work on one's thought, speech, and action, which is kind of more of the, I guess, malchut, the last of the 10, the actual practical expression of those expressions of the 10, um, because those are the things you're actually for sure in control of. How you can choose always every second how you think, how you speak, and how you act, right? And by let's say you're not a kind and compassionate person, right? Let's say you're very stingy, you're a miser, right? Um, you could, as a maybe therapy, maybe this would be a good therapy idea, would be to tell that person, hey, why don't you go out of your way to give to everyone you see, just give like a dollar bill to just like every person you see on the street. Or I don't obviously that might be a little extreme, but just find ways to constantly give way more beyond your comfort zone. Um, for a person that's overly stingy. So that even so by doing that action over and over again, slowly he can hack away at that attribute of chesed, of kindness and compassion, and slowly be able to change it. But it would take a lot of work and a lot of, it's definitely not easy. So it's easier to kind of figure out what your strengths are within your attributes and kind of utilize those, recognize your strengths, recognize your weaknesses, and utilize the strengths to the best of your ability. And I noticed we skipped text 3, which is basically the text from the Zohar that um that that alludes to all these 10 sphere. Okay. Page 104. Um, we're just going to transition into this idea that, wait a minute, aren't we like, I always thought this, like, especially once I became religious, is like, oh, we have the code of Jewish law, we have 613 commandments, so why don't we just do that and just be like robots, and then we can, do everything. That's great. And why do we have to have all this complicated, you know, emotions, personality, figuring this out? What was there to figure out? So really text 104, I think, helps address that question. Dr. Seamus, why don't you read text 4, page 104, if you have the textbook.
Just as what Rav Yosef asked of Rav Yosef, son of Rabbah, with which mitzvah was your father most careful?
Mm-hmm. Very good. So this basically shows that Rav Yosef, he made this assumption that shouldn't be taken for granted, that really there's always every person, even though they may be obligated in all of the commandments of the Torah, we are each we all have one mitzvah or a few mitzvahs that our soul is uniquely connected to. So that's why we have to, and when we, like, let's say I love the mitzvah of tzedakah, let's say, so therefore I should recognize that, and be able to, maybe my purpose in life could be more associated with that mitzvah because I just love that mitzvah. Something about that mitzvah, like, it really I really connect to more than any of the other mitzvahs in the Torah. Let's say, for example, um, someone might have another mitzvah that they find that they really connect with. Um, so that's the whole idea, is that it's about utilizing our own personality in service of God. Okay, we are definitely over time. So I'm not gonna apologize. I'm just gonna officially, we have this last source here that we're gonna read. If anybody has to hop off, I'm not gonna be offended. So feel free to hop off if you have to. Mom, would you be able to read text 5, page 106?
Sure.
Okay.
God gives a unique personality to each person. We all must pursue our mission in accordance with this personality because it comprises our portion in this world. For example, if you are more cerebral, utilize this trait for the study of Torah. Surely you will observe the other mitzvot and commit yourself to the mission shared by every Jew, but you will be extra particular and passionate about Torah study because it comports with your personality. If kindness is your personality, utilize this trait to love and care for others. This includes sharing the rich heritage of Judaism with Jews who have never had the opportunity to learn about it. This doesn't mean that you won't study Torah or perform other mitzvot. It means that you ought to be particularly spirited about your caring for others, given the unique capacity you have for this. If you are a pragmatic person who knows how to get things done, involve yourself in starting an organization and spare no effort to get it off the ground. Alternatively, an existing institution, a school, may have a particular challenge that is inhibiting student performance. Can you solve it? Perhaps you can alleviate the plight of the poor and homeless. Sure, you will also study Torah and develop emotional connections with others, but place extra focus on getting things done.
Yeah, so so there's different types of people. There you have more intellectual people, you have more emotional connecting persons, and then you have, the doers, the people that are, obviously that's oversimplifying it, but the main idea is to utilize your purpose into doing what your mission is. And even if it's not the same as everyone else. Okay, we will quickly read the last source so we can officially close out the class. Page 107, text 6. Okay. Neil, you want to read? Are you able to read
I
text?
I apologize. I do not have the
That's
book
okay.
in
That's
front
okay.
of
I'm
me.
gonna maybe
Let me
have.
listen.
Why don't we have Diane? Let's have Diane read.
You want it?
Let's have Diane. Diane, did you end up finding the book in the store yet?
I did. It was there,
Yay!
and then I realized I neither I nor my husband had been there this week, so they had it waiting for me.
Oh,
I walked
good.
in
So
and
we
they handed
this
it to
this
me.
textbook was shipped all the way to Snowflake, Arizona, in the middle of the rural. I had to ship it to the general store because the mail is so bad out there that if I shipped it straight to your address, it would have taken a couple months to get
Yeah,
to you. So,
yeah. Well, I don't have
glad.
mail delivery where I live.
Okay, page
You know,
106, text 6.
applying personal strengths. People go to this link, and I'm not sure what the link is, but
Oh
are
yeah,
invited.
I sent it in the chat. In the chat, I
Oh,
reposted the
okay,
link.
okay. Are invited to help us test new exercises. First, they take depression and happiness tests. Next, we randomly assign them to a single exercise. Two
Uh-huh.
of the exercises, what went well, and the signature strength
Okay, yeah,
exercise.
pause really quick. I just want to explain the context. So
Okay,
the what went well test, that that is the exercise where you find and write down three things that went well each day. That's um that's that exercise. And then the signature strength exercise is one of the other tests that you can take. It's the personality test that you take on online. Okay, yeah, keep going.
Um, let's see, markedly lowered depression. Let me start all over to get the
Yeah.
context. Two of
Yeah,
the
you're good.
exercises, what went well, and the signature strength exercise below, markedly lowered depression 3 months and 6 months later. These two exercises also substantially increased happiness through 6 months. The purpose of the signature strengths exercise is to encourage you to own your signature strengths by finding new and more frequent uses for them. After you have completed the test, perform the following exercise. This week, I want you to create a designated time in your schedule when you will exercise one or more of your signature strengths in a new way, either at work or at home or in leisure. Just make sure you create a clearly defined opportunity to use it.
Okay.
And Rabbi, one other
Yeah,
key point I'd like to bring up.
yeah, please.
I went through those factors and answered them. I
Yeah.
need therapy, so I have to call
Okay,
somebody.
well we have a panel of
I
like four therapists on the call.
I
So you can just put your number in the chat and they will just kidding.
I I I need help. Thank you.
Wait, I got something to say about the test. The
Yeah.
tests in the workbook, okay, different Sephira had
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6 characteristics. So you cannot use your total score and
No, no,
compare it against
yeah,
all
it's not
your
a
tools.
score-based test.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
It's
you
not
can't.
it's not a scoring thing. It's more of just to get a general idea of which attribute you're more inclined towards than others. Yeah, you're right. It's
Well,
not for
one
scoring.
only had two
Yeah, exactly. It's not
characteristics.
for
And
scoring. It's exactly that's the point. Is like it's not a scoring test. It's more of getting an idea. Also, it's not a real scientific rigorous test or study. For example, throughout all of Torah literature, there's no such concept as a Kabbalah personality test. It's kind of just a made up thing that, that is kind of just a cute thing. It's not an actual Torah thing to do. It's not but that's why we're not making a whole score of it. The whole idea is just to get a general idea of which of your intellectual and emotional traits are you most like, all right, you lean towards. And some people, you know what? Some people might be very well balanced and have equal of all of them, and that's okay too. Um, I was gonna just quickly share my the
I
screen.
think one thing that I just like to add on top
Please,
of that
please
would
add.
be like sometimes when I give these tests at work, we'll have to encourage a client to think back the way it used to be because maybe
Mm,
someone's a really great at personal growth and they've already developed, like one of them was weaker and now it's stronger. But if I think back to the way it was when I was 14 or 16, I might gain a little extra
mm.
clarity.
Interesting. Yeah, because that's your inborn traits versus because you're right, there's the nature and the nurture both play a significant part. It's really go back in time and really figure that out. Yeah. So, anyways, I clicked on the link, um, and basically with this quote here that Dr. Seligman presents here in his book Flourish, A Visionary New Understanding of Happiness and Well-Being. He says that there's depression and happiness tests, and then these other exercises. I unfortunately I see this test, survey of character strengths, and then there's a breath strength test. So my guess is that might be this is the one that he's referring to in that quote, because that's the only one I can see that he's referring to. Another option is you can just take all of them. I mean, I'm sure they're all incredible, amazing to take. I really want to take them. I'm gonna at least try to find one or two of these tests and take them because or you can even just look through and just see the ones one that looks interesting.
So I've
And
taken the VIA several times.
oh, really?
Yeah, and I've given it to clients to
Oh,
take too.
interesting.
Yeah, that's the VIA
And
survey of
would you, is
character
that something
strengths.
you'd recommend as
I
a,
would. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, okay, good. So my gut was right. Okay. So yeah, so that's the idea. The whole idea is to really help figure out what is your strengths. And obviously the academic world is going to divide up, the strengths,
It's going to be equal, yeah.
differently than the traditional Kabbalistic sources do in terms of the 10. But it's the same general idea. It's just how you split up. Oh, I have to log in. Okay. We'll figure that out later. Anywho, that is that. That's a wrap. Next week, journey from oi to vey, overcoming stress to productivity. Um, the main idea for next week is really is first of all, we have some amazing appendix sources. But the main idea of next week is really about worrying and how to overcome worry. That's the main gist of next week. And positivity as it relates to worrying, as it relates to overcoming happiness. Um, once you've yeah, and obviously the challenge with lesson three is that it's literally a lifelong this lesson you can kind of keep incorporating into your life and keep evaluating yourself and understanding more and more and more about yourself. It's not something that you're gonna just accomplish with a one time 1 hour lesson. It's something that, through years and years of work, whether with a therapist or without a therapist, that just work to really help grow in that regard. And the more we can be in touch with our knowing our personality strengths, the more that we can go out and really feel confident in in our mission and hopefully not worry too much. And but if we do worry, then we have next week's class. So that's the good news.
Um,
Yeah.
Awesome class, Jaco. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Good. Such good stuff, so compressed. I always want to say,
Awesome.
like, I don't know if it fits or it fits with the program. I would be open or happy to have like a midweek discussion, do exercises meeting,
Yeah.
you
I'm
know,
happy to, you know
like on a
what?
Sunday or night or some other time where could just kind of get do the exercises, talk about it.
Yeah, because you're right. Like it's so hard because we didn't even really do any of the exercises in the class. And there's so much work. Like literally the ideal way to do this lesson is to really spend at least another hour minimum to to really take. Okay, we have some comments in the comment section.
Yaakov,
Summary combination of three cerebral emotion. Oh wait, Tikva, are you still on the line?
Yaakov.
Yeah.
Yes.
Since,
Wait. But Tikva, before you share something, my father-in-law, Sheldon, is so we can't, Zaidi, we can't see your face, and your
But
name
we
only
we
comes up
can't
as Zoom user.
we can't get we can't start the we can't unmute ourselves. That's why
Really?
when we go over here,
we haven't
Okay.
seen, we haven't seen.
Oh, you just muted yourself. Unmute yourself.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
okay.
I was saying we haven't seen what.
We
All
didn't
we
see the
can.
video.
We
We
didn't
didn't see
see
the
any of the
video at
video.
all.
We just saw
Okay.
you.
Oh, you didn't see the video? Did
No.
everyone?
No, I heard the video, but I didn't see it.
Okay, I'm gonna send you the video right after class so that you can watch it.
No,
I'll WhatsApp it to you now. Tikva, so yeah, you can watch it.
but it wasn't just that video. It's been everything.
Oh, because you're watching, you're on your phone, and on your phone you're unable to see the screen share.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't do it.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna have to do some research on how to overcome that. Okay, I can send you the PowerPoint and the video. How about that?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Tikva, can you comment on this combination of the three cerebral, emotional, and doer, what you were referring to there?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes personality can be very complex and it's not just one or the other. Sometimes
Hmm.
we can have traits of all three and they interact with each other. So it's not like somebody is just cerebral or someone's just emotional, and you
Hmm.
can't have
Oh, for
the
sure.
other two components.
Hmm.
You can. And I think that for some people, there are some people where you can be very strongly cerebral and that's your strength. But there's for other people where you can have a combination of every single one of those three traits.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very good point. And another big challenge that a lot of people might have is what if I answered equal but low scores on all of the 10 traits? You know? So like if I scored a low score on all of the 10 traits, then I'm equal on all of them, but then the problem is like, so then what do I do? So, and I think that is a separate challenge to overcome from a psychological perspective. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is really the idea of simcha from a Hasidic perspective, the idea of learning how to express the emotions. Meaning that the challenge is not like I'm very strongly one emotion versus another emotional trait. It's not like I have one very strong one very weak. They're all equally weak. So I just need to work on learning how to express my emotion, be more expressive in my emotions overall. Would that be a one way to see it? Maybe.
It's
Just as
kind
a
of like
thought.
how to manage it. If you happen to be all three, sometimes it's just finding out how each one of those can interact with each other in different situations, because it's not
Mhm.
going to be all the same. There might be some situations where you might be more cerebral, and other situations where you might be more emotional, or others where you might be more of a doer. Even though you still are equal to all three, it's just depending on the situation, one might come out more than the other. But it doesn't negate the fact that you do have traits of all three.
Right. And
Mm,
different relationships and scenarios draw us out in different ways.
Yes.
Like you ever feel like, oh, I love who I become around him. Or I like, when I'm at work, this whole thing comes out of me that doesn't seem to happen at home. So it's kind of a different aspect. Would you say, Tick, does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yes. It can be. And also too that not always personality is fixed. I know Milan, who I had studied when I learned personality disorders, and he did talk a little bit about how the fact that we believe sometimes that personality is fixed, you can't change it. Not
Hmm.
necessarily. It
Hmm.
depends on the situation. It's that whole nature versus nurture thing. There's parts of our personality that yes, we are born with, but there's also the environment that has to actually contribute to the development of that personality. And I think
Hmm.
that that's something that is really important. And that's why sometimes people can have traits of all three and
Hmm.
and other people might be just strongly one way or the other. It depends on the situation. And I think that
Hmm.
that's just something that's just really important. And people may react very differently with their personalities based on the situation that they're in, which also can happen.
Yeah, for me, I always didn't like throughout my life like the whole personality test. I've always found personally that like I don't like being like defined into a box like I am this and not that, and therefore like having that limit me in some way. They're either yeah, it's definitely something a lot to think about. And yeah, to use it as a tool, but not limit yourself. Like, oh, because I may or may not have this trait, therefore I should just neglect this trait for the rest of my life, which actually leads into a few of the appendix texts. Obviously, we don't have time to do the appendix text, but there was a lot of it. First of all, some of the appendix talks about appendix text 7 is all about, you might have a trait, but you didn't use it to your fullest potential. Like I was saying before, like you're not able to fully express that trait. And then the other thing is the advantage of actually sometimes it is important to engage with your weaker traits. And that actually does build a lot of character because maybe specifically God wants you to involve yourself in this trait in order to overcome your nature. Since your nature is, etc. Like we were explaining with the analogy of the miser having him give in order to kind of work on that trait. So maybe specifically to be involved in that trait instead of just ignoring it and only working on your strengths and never engaging with your weaknesses. So I think the generally to summarize everything, really the ultimate is still to focus on your strengths at the same time to not surrender to the weaknesses either and helping that all determine. Oh, wait, there's my see chats. See the chat? Can use your strengths to compensate for weakness. I'm going to sign off. Have a good night to all. Okay, you're right. It is now definitely way past time. You guys are amazing. I hope you guys were felt comfortable just signing off whenever. So that was awesome. And the whole thing's recorded. And if anyone wants to stay on to schmooze with me, I'll be here all night. So, Diane, Donna, you have any final words before we sign off? Comments,
Just
questions, criticisms?
It's been
thank you,
fun.
Rabbi, for generating insight into
Yes.
allowing us to generate insight into ourselves. And I have a Tanya class at 8 o'clock. Well, our time, 7 o'clock California time. So I'm signing off. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone, for making this
Yeah.
so
So great.
helpful.
This is
And
really great.
it
Hello.
is. Thank
So
you.
happy. I'm so happy.
Ciao.
Beautiful. Okay, ciao. Okay. Who's left? I guess it's just me. Okay, so I'm also gonna sign up. Okay. Okay. Lila Tov, everyone. Beep beep boo. How do I do this? Stop.